What is going on, everybody? Welcome back into the Fantasy Coaches. I am Coach Steve, as always. I'm back with another edition of my 32 team fantasy preview here. If you guys didn't catch my show last night, I did do the New York Jets. It was a lot of fun to do, talking about the New York Jets and all their fantasy situations coming up for the coming season here now. Basically, what I do is I go through each position, kind of give my overall take based on their ADP currently and kind of what expectation you're expecting, what we should be expecting from them for the coming season. So I will get right into it here. Like I said, the Miami Dolphins are next on the board here. And this week, guys, the Dolphins, they did some decent things this free agency. And if you guys know me, I am a Dolphins fan, but do not take that. I'm not gonna go late. I'm not gonna go easy on the Dolphins. I'm gonna give you guys the what it is situation. So of course, they made some signings with Chase Edmonds, Sony Michel, Raheem Mostert. They redid that entire backfield. Cedric Wilson came over. They traded for Tyreek Hill, the big move of the offseason here. Obviously, they signed Teddy Bridgewater. They re-signed Mike Gesicki and Durham Smythe as tight ends. Mike Gesicki is the only franchise tag that, of course, he didn't get an extension for. And, of course, we rebuilt the offensive line in total with Armstead coming over the big prized left tackle. And, of course, for certain terms of subtractions, I mean, the only real big one, is Devontae Parker. Obviously, Philip Lindsay was on our team at one point, and so was Duke Johnson. But, again, they weren't really big fantasy contributors that are going to continue going into this year. So I'm going to get right into the quarterbacks, guys. Like I said, these are quick 10 to 15 minute videos. They're not going to be too long. So if you have time, just listen and we'll be in and out in no time. So starting at the top here, the quarterbacks. Tua Tagovailoa sitting at ADP 120. That's about round 10 right now in a standard 12-team league. Now, when it comes to Tua, there's a lot of ups and downs with him. I'm still one of those people who does believe in Tua still. I do believe there's a situation there where he can produce. A lot of people are turned off on Tua, and I completely understand why. He hasn't shown us anything in the 2 years now that he's been in the NFL to that much extent. And he's also been injured the last 2 years. So it's like to the point where, are you really going to trust Tua again? And the Miami Dolphins, they've given him now basically everything that I've ever said about it. I've said he's been sacked way too often. He doesn't have time in the pocket. Well, he doesn't have any wide receivers. He's had garbage the last 2 years. He's had no-name guys starting like Matt Collins for majority of the time there. And, of course, the run game has always been so-so. Now you bring in a new head coach, and you have a new found running game. You have the wide receivers now. You have the offensive line. So there's everything there for Tua to really succeed, to make it to the next level here. Is it justified taking him in round 10? Probably so. That's probably pretty much a decent play if you choose to avoid taking quarterbacks early and then going with guys later in the draft. Like I said, Tua is a nice upside potential play this coming season here. I get, but there's risk involved because we just don't know if Tua really does have what it takes to be that quarterback. But there are some things. I mean, his completion percentage is fantastic. He's one of the better quarterbacks in terms of accuracy. His deep ball play action and red zone completions were among the top 10 last year. He was top 5 versus zone. I wasn't great versus man. Again, he didn't have a lot of air yards and yards per attempt. Those were on the lower side. So there are some, does he really have the deep ball accuracy? And that's a really big issue. A lot of fantasy experts and analysts out there that are concerned about, like, does he really have it? Does he really do what he's able to do and make it to the next level for our fantasy team? Maybe helps the Dolphins, whatever. Again, he's definitely someone you could take a shot on. I would want to grab someone who also has, reliability, like a Kirk Cousins, and pair him with a Tua if you want to do the 2 QB strategy and take that Tua upside that could be potentially there. But I wouldn't want to grab Tua as my only one quarterback. I'd want to grab someone else who I may have a little bit more consistency just in case. In a 2 QB league, he's definitely a really nice upside QB2 play. And again, I'm excited to see what he's able to do this season, but I understand why people are afraid and don't want to take that risk with him. But there's some positive trends for Tua going on right now. So going over to the running backs, that's a really tricky situation because, Mike McDaniel is coming from that Kyle Shanahan offense where he was pretty much bigly involved in how this offense ran, to be honest. And we saw that multiple running backs were able to be fantasy productive. But again, multiple running backs were able to be fantasy productive. So it's really hard to really know who's going to be the lead guy at the end of the day. I'll knock off Raheem Mostert right here. he's sitting at round 11. I really don't want anything to do with Raheem Mostert. I think he has potential in a general sense because if he's on the field, I mean, he has at least 50 yards rushing since 2018 in 17 of his 34 games played. But again, 34 games played over the last 4 years. That's about just over two seasons right there. And the injury is the biggest kicker for him. He knows the offense really well. He's a better last round 14 to 16 pick for me personally. If I want to go for an upside running back play at that point, but I can't take him in round 11. The ADP is just too high for me because the injury aspect of it. He's been hurt the last 2 seasons, but if you want to grab him late in drafts, I definitely love that. Back to the main starter, or the guy who we presume is the main starter, in Chase Edmonds. And people last year, I wasn't one of those people that were high on Chase Edmonds. There are a lot of people who were. In the first part of his season, he was an RB2, did pretty well. He came back, was top 14 in the final few weeks of the season. But with Chase Edmonds, again, he's someone who also continues to miss time. And that's an issue for me overall. I don't know if he's a running back that can handle the full workload. He's really great in the passing game, and I think he could have potential in PPR leagues. Last year, Tua was able to average about 4 or 5 targets per game to running backs. Gaskin had 60 targets last year in that. So, if Chase Edmonds can get close to that, there's potential there. But who knows if we're going to see Chase Edmonds really see the ball that often, because they want to mix in these other wider running backs into the fold here. So it's not bad in round 8. He's definitely the presumed starter. So going after him as your RB3 or 4, probably RB4 to be more safe, makes a ton of sense. Sony Michel probably is my favorite value overall based on where his current ADP is at 172. Sony Michel, it just feels like he was signed later, so there's some knock that, okay, well, they didn't go out and get him right away. They went out and got Chase Edmonds right away. But Sony Michel showed us last year that he can handle the full workload, something that kind of was missing from his time in New England. I think, the early on injuries that he was dealing with kind of derailed his career in New England, and people were kind of just turned off by him, talking about him. He wasn't able to pass catch, but his yards per carry, is great over his career. Like, he's got over 4 yards per carry in 3 or 4 seasons now. And he showed us, like, down the stretch with the Rams, and again, different team, but he was good. He was like RB4 the final 4 weeks of this regular fantasy season. He's had 800 yards in 3 or 4 seasons. You can't really say that about Chase Edmonds, honestly. And if anyone had to get a full workload at any point in their season, I think it could be Sony Michel. Now, the only thing that's concerning me is are we going to get a Sony Michel type of player, or are we going to get what the 49ers have in, like, a guy like Jeff Wilson, where he's only really going to play if someone gets hurt? And that's the biggest concern. If Sony Michel gets the opportunity and gets more work, then I think he could be a steal late in drafts that I do want to take advantage of. So, all right, over to the wide receivers now. And there's really only 3 to worry about here. And, of course, it's Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and Cedric Wilson. So starting with Tyreek Hill, the big free agency splash the Dolphins made. Now, round 2 seems a little high. Honestly, I love Tyreek Hill, and I love him as a Dolphin, but round 2 seems a little sketchy to me still, because I just don't know. Because it comes down to Tua. If Tua can take that leap and do great, it's a great play right now in round 2 for ADP 20. But for me, I think round 3 is where I would want to, at that point, take Tyreek Hill. Round 2 seems a little rich because there are really great players out there who I know how their situation is going to be. Sitting in that round 2 range, you're getting a lot of good running backs at the end there, getting wide receivers who we know has a great connection, like Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams on a new team too, but he has a connection with his quarterback from the past there. So to me, Tyreek Hill in round 2 just doesn't make sense. He's more of a better early round 3 kind of pick for me. And it will come down to the quarterback play. But, he gets a downgrade at arm strength. Obviously, Mahomes is a much better deep ball thrower in terms of power, but Tua is more accurate. He was one of the better, more accurate deep ball passers in the league last year, and he works well in zone. They both work well in zone. So this could be a cool match made in heaven. And maybe that the Dolphins might use him in more creative situations than he was used in Kansas City. It might be more to the fact that maybe he sees more consistency than what we saw, that big boom or bust that he showed us last year, where honestly, the final 9 games of the season, he was an RB1 basically just twice the final 9 games. So can it be any worse in Miami? I don't think so, because I think they're going to throw the ball closer to the line of scrimmage and allowing Tyreek Hill to use that speed to kind of do things. So I think early round 3 is a safer bet, but don't be shocked if he ends up beating that this coming season. In terms of Jalen Waddle, I still love Jalen Waddle, but again, round 4 is a little heavy. I don't know if Tua is going to produce 2 top 4-round wide receivers. Again, it all comes back to Tua, but Jalen Waddle was great, and he's definitely a player as your wide receiver 2 you can't complain with, because I think he can produce wide receiver 2 numbers still. I mean, what we saw at him last year is that they didn't really open him up. He was kind of limited to what he showed us in that offense. And I think with McDaniel, he can really bring out the best of him. He was fantastic in man coverage, somebody who can separate from defenders real easily. Now, he saw 140 targets last year. Does he see even 120? He might get to like 110, 115, maybe. But he is someone who we saw last year that they could throw off on a little hitch route, and he could just take it and make big yards out of it. So I don't want to count him out just yet in the fantasy circles. So I'm still on board with Jalen Waddle. And you know what? Without the pressure of being the top overall, wide receiver now, with Tyreek Hill now taking the top coverage, I'm okay with Jalen Waddle being able to take that secondary defender and actually beat them really easily. So round 4 is a little heavy for me, but maybe round 5, round 6 as your wide receiver 2, pretty happy with. Now, Cedric Wilson, I don't know if there's a situation where he really sees weekly consistency value, but I'm intrigued by him still because he's got that speed. And we saw last year when he saw the slot role position, again, different offense, different team, but when he got the slot position where more than likely he's going to probably see more often than not this year, he was fantastic at times. And that's really great to see. That's why Miami went out there and got him early, because he has that speed. He's got that slot roll ability to his game there. He had the best catch rate in the NFL last year at 73%. But I don't know if this mini breakout he had last year of 600 yards and 6 touchdowns is his ceiling or not. And I don't really see him doing more than that unless Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle gets hurt. So he's probably better to left undrafted. He might end up being more of like a bye week replacement at times, but there isn't really much that I want to go out and get him currently until something changes. Now, finally, on to the tight ends, guys. Mike Gesicki, Durham Smythe. I'll go to Durham Smythe real quickly. Again, he's pretty much just an average tight end, but they did bring him back, which definitely hurts Mike Gesicki a little bit there. But again, he's not somebody you're worth drafting, but I just wanted to mention him why he is on this page right here. Back to Mike Gesicki now. He is going ADP 103 now, which is about round 9. And to me, again, that's still a little bit early for me in terms of tight ends right now. So Mike Gesicki, the reason we all loved Mike Gesicki is because he was he was the number 1 tight end in terms of slot snaps. And for a tight end, that's a great thing. That means he's lining out wide very often and getting opportunity to, run routes and catch the ball. And that's rare for most tight ends nowadays because you don't get that opportunity as much, but he let it. So I don't know if that same situation is going to happen with Cedric Wilson on the field as well, because maybe they do 4 wide. Maybe they put them both in the slot to some extent. I just don't know if Mike Gesicki, in a general sense, gets that 111 targets that we saw this past season. I do like him. I think he's very athletic. I think he has that tier talent that reminds me of a Travis Kelce, but does he get on the field as much as possible? I know his blocking isn't the best overall. I'm just concerned with his overall target share, and that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. 18% target share, that was one of the best. That was one of the top 10 in the NFL, which was great. And the thing is with him, that's compared to, the 49ers situation at tight end. I always try to compare to him and Kittle. Kittle's obviously a great blocker, but Kittle's also great yards after catch. Mike Gesicki hasn't really done as much yards after catch. So it's a bit concerning that unless he's getting hit with nice deep balls over the middle, is he really going to be a consistent tight end 1? I don't think he's a tight end 1 this year. I think he might disappoint us enough, but he's also playing on a contract year once again. So we'll see what happens with that. But in round 9, I think it's a little early for Mike Gesicki. I think if you're waiting and you want to grab Mike Gesicki for maybe that upside that he's no longer having to be the number 2 guy, now in the number 3 or 4, wait to the double-digit rounds to grab him. Let someone else reach for him, I think, in round 9 at this point. So, but that's going to wrap me up today, guys. Thank you all for listening. As always, I hope you enjoyed that little segment there. I will be back probably Sunday to do another AFC East team. Now, if there's another team you want me to do right away, let me know, and I can try to work that in early and sooner and possible for you guys. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Tune back until next time, guys. Thanks for listening, and have a good one.